My wife was lying. The receipt in her purse proved it. $287 at the Sterling Room in Scottsdale, the night she told me she was alone at a conference. I wasn't snooping. I was looking for my car keys on a Thursday evening, and Vanessa's purse was sitting open on our kitchen counter in Phoenix. There, among the makeup and receipts, was a folded slip of paper that made my stomach drop. The date? Tuesday, April 12th. The same night, she'd texted me saying she was exhausted from convention meetings and going straight to bed at her hotel. But this receipt told a different story. 2 filet mignons, 2 sides, a bottle of Pinot Noir. Vanessa hated red wine, always ordered white. 2 creme brulees for dessert. Someone had paid cash, but the itemized list didn't lie. This was a dinner for 2 at one of the most romantic restaurants in Arizona. My name is Nathan Rivers, and I'm 34 years old. I'd been married to Vanessa for 8 years, together for 10. We met in college, married young, and built what I thought was a solid life. I'm a software engineer at a mid-sized tech company. She works in pharmaceutical marketing. We were planning to start a family soon. Or at least, I thought we were. I stood there in our kitchen, holding that receipt, and suddenly everything from the past 6 months came to sharp focus. The late nights at the office became routine, the new expensive perfume I'd never bought her, the way she stopped asking about my day, the distance in her eyes when she looked at me, like she was seeing through me instead of at me. How had I missed it? Or had I just refused to see it? I carefully placed the receipt back exactly where I'd found it. My hands were shaking. That night, lying next to Vanessa in bed while she scrolled through her phone with the same casual detachment she'd shown for months, I made a decision. I needed proof, not suspicions, not paranoia, hard evidence. Because if I confronted her based on a receipt alone, she'd have 100 explanations. Maybe it was a work dinner, maybe a client, maybe I was reading too much into nothing. But deep in my gut, I already knew the truth. The next morning, while Vanessa left for work with a distracted kiss on my cheek, I sat at my laptop and searched for private investigators in Phoenix. I found Marcus Chen, a former police detective with stellar reviews. His website promised discretion and results. I called. I think my wife is having an affair. I need to know for sure. He said, bring everything you have. We'll find the truth. As I gathered documents, Vanessa's work schedule, the receipt, phone records, something cold settled in my chest. This wasn't anger yet. It was clarity. In 2 weeks, I'd know exactly who was destroying my marriage. And then, I'd decide what to do about it.
Marcus Chen's office, located on East Camelback Road, was modest, yet professional. When I walked in that Friday with my evidence folder, he looked at me with the sharp, assessing eyes of someone who'd seen the story 1,000 times. I laid it all out. The receipt, the pattern of late nights, the emotional distance, the changed behavior. He listened, took notes, and when I finished, he was direct. Based on what you've described, there's likely something here, but you need to be ready for what I find. Once you know, you can't unknow it. I understand. I need the truth. My retainer is $2,500. You'll have a complete report within 2 weeks, possibly sooner. Photographs, timestamps, locations, everything documented. I wrote the check without hesitation. The next 12 days were the longest of my life. I went to work, came home, had dinner with Vanessa, watched TV beside her, all while knowing someone was following her, documenting her secrets. She seemed completely normal, tired, distracted, but normal. She'd kiss me goodbye each morning, ask what I wanted for dinner, and complain about difficult clients. I became an actor in my own marriage, playing the unsuspecting husband while my insides churned. I barely slept. At 3 a.m., I'd stare at the ceiling, running through scenarios, hoping I was wrong, knowing I wasn't. On day 13, Marcus called. I have your report. When can you come in? Today. That afternoon, he slid a manila envelope across his desk. I'm sorry, Nathan. Inside were photographs, time-stamped, dated, undeniable. Vanessa outside a Marriott hotel in downtown Phoenix with a man I didn't recognize. Tall, well-dressed, mid-30s, his hand on the small of her back as they entered. Another photo of them at a restaurant, leaning close, her hand covering his. A shot of them kissing in a parking garage. The report detailed 2 weeks of encounters, long lunches, 2 hotel visits, entering separately, leaving an hour later. text message logs showing constant communication. Marcus had even identified him. Derek Thornton, regional sales director at a competing pharmaceutical company. Married, 2 kids. I stared at the photos for a long time. Vanessa looked different in these images. Animated, laughing, alive in a way I hadn't seen in months. She looked happy with him. That hurt more than the betrayal itself. What you do next is your choice, Marcus said quietly. Some people confront, some gather more evidence for divorce, some try counseling. I closed the folder. Thank you. I'll handle it from here. That night, Vanessa came home at 7:30 with Thai takeout, apologizing for another late meeting. I watched her move through our kitchen, setting out plates, talking about her day, completely unaware that the man sitting across from her already knew everything. I didn't confront her. I didn't yell or accuse. I just listened and nodded. Because I'd already decided. I was leaving. Clean, quiet, and final. She'd never see it coming.
I didn't want the drama of a confrontation. I didn't want to hear lies or excuses or watch her cry and beg forgiveness I couldn't give. I wanted out, clean and permanent. That Monday, I took a personal day and met with Laura Simmons, a family law attorney in Scottsdale with a reputation for efficiency. She was direct and compassionate. Arizona is a no-fault state. You don't need to prove adultery, but these photos help in negotiations. Do you have kids? No. That simplifies things. With no children and straightforward assets, this could be resolved in a few months. She walked me through the strategy. Open a separate bank account, redirect my paycheck, document all shared assets, and gather financial records. Don't take more than your fair share, she warned, but protect yourself. Over the next 10 days, I executed the plan with mechanical precision. New bank account at a different bank, redirected direct deposit, photographed every room in our house, every valuable item, copied all financial documents, mortgage, credit cards, investments, packed one suitcase with essentials and stored it in my car trunk. I found the furnished one-bedroom apartment in Tempe. Move-out date, Thursday, when Vanessa had back-to-back client meetings and wouldn't be home until evening. The hardest part wasn't the logistics. It was the pretending. For 10 days, I lived beside a stranger, sharing space but nothing else. At night, I'd lie awake on my side of the bed, counting hours until I could leave. Wednesday night, our last night together, though she didn't know it, Vanessa asked me if I was okay. You've seemed distant lately. The irony almost made me laugh. Just work stress. Big project. You can talk to me, you know. I looked at her and wondered who she really was. I know. Thursday morning, I left for work at my usual time. Vanessa kissed my cheek, distracted, already checking her phone. Have a good day. You too. I worked a half day, then called in sick with a migraine. At 1 p.m., I drove back to our house in Ahwatukee. The neighborhood was empty, everyone at work. I moved quickly, took only what was mine. Clothes, laptop, books, my grandfather's watch, a few photos from before the marriage. Left my wedding ring on the kitchen counter next to a single piece of paper with 7 words. I know everything. Don't contact me. No explanation, no accusations, just truth and a boundary. I did a final walkthrough, the home where we'd celebrated anniversaries and planned a future that would never happen. I felt nothing. Maybe that was the saddest part. I locked the door, dropped my key through the mail slot, and drove away. In my rear view mirror, our house disappeared. I never looked back.
I didn't want the drama of a confrontation. I didn't want to hear lies or excuses or watch her cry and beg forgiveness I couldn't give. I wanted out, clean and permanent. That Monday, I took a personal day and met with Laura Simmons, a family law attorney in Scottsdale with a reputation for efficiency. She was direct and compassionate. Arizona is a no-fault state. You don't need to prove adultery, but these photos help in negotiations. Do you have kids? No. That simplifies things. With no children and straightforward assets, this could be resolved in a few months. She walked me through the strategy. Open a separate bank account, redirect my paycheck, document all shared assets, and gather financial records. Don't take more than your fair share, she warned, but protect yourself. Over the next 10 days, I executed the plan with mechanical precision. New bank account at a different bank, redirected direct deposit, photographed every room in our house, every valuable item, copied all financial documents, mortgage, credit cards, investments, packed one suitcase with essentials and stored it in my car trunk. I found the furnished one-bedroom apartment in Tempe. Move-out date? Thursday, when Vanessa had back-to-back client meetings and wouldn't be home until evening. 15 years change everything. I'm Nathan Rivers, 49 now, living in Tempe with my wife Claire and our 7-year-old son Dylan. I'm a senior software architect at a growing tech startup. I coach Dylan's soccer team. I have a life that feels solid and real in ways my first marriage never did. The first year after leaving Vanessa was brutal. 70-hour work weeks because being busy meant not thinking. A barely furnished apartment where I lived like a monk. Vanessa tried contacting me dozens of times. Calls, texts, emails that started angry, turned pleading, then stopped. I blocked everything and let my attorney handle all communication. The divorce was finalized 6 months later. She didn't contest it. According to my lawyer, Vanessa's affair imploded after I left. Derek went back to his wife. Vanessa lost her job. Part of me felt vindicated. Most of me felt empty. Around month 8, my sister staged an intervention. "You're disappearing," she said, in my depressing apartment. "This isn't healing, this is hiding." She dragged me to therapy. Dr. Patricia Owens specialized in betrayal trauma. Over the next year, I did the hard work, processing not just Vanessa's affair, but my own role in our failing marriage, the warning signs I'd ignored. Betrayal rewires your brain, Dr. Owens told me. You have to actively choose to trust again. I dated occasionally, focused on rebuilding, gym, hiking, reconnecting with friends. Slowly, life became living instead of surviving. I met Claire 3 years post-divorce at a friend's barbecue. She was a pediatric nurse from Seattle with a laugh that lit up rooms and a straightforwardness I found refreshing. She knew I'd been married before, knew it ended badly, and didn't push for details. We took it slow, dated for a year, lived together another year before I proposed. Our wedding was small and perfect. When Dylan was born, I felt uncomplicated joy I'd worried I'd never experience. I never looked Vanessa up, never asked about her, never drove past our old house. She existed only as a closed chapter, a lesson learned. Claire knew the broad strokes, but I didn't dwell. The past was past. Dylan is everything. Smart, curious, energetic. This fall, he started 2nd grade at Copper Ridge Elementary. He was nervous about his new teacher, so Claire and I both came to back-to-school night. We parked, Dylan chattering about his new classroom. Claire smiled at us. I thought, as I often did, how lucky I was, how far I'd come, how complete this life felt. We found room 14, decorated with colorful posters. Parents gathered in kid-sized chairs. Then the teacher walked in. Time stopped, because standing at the front of the classroom, introducing herself as Miss Mitchell, was Vanessa.
I thought I was hallucinating, but no, it was her. Older, shorter hair, dressed conservatively, but unmistakably Vanessa. Good evening, everyone. I'm Miss Mitchell, and I'm so excited to be teaching your children this year. Her voice. That voice I hadn't heard in 15 years, now cheerful and teacher bright, explaining curriculum and field trips. I sat frozen in a too small chair, Claire beside me taking notes, Dylan squirming between us, and Vanessa 20 feet away like a ghost made flesh. She hadn't seen me yet. I was partially blocked by other parents. But I couldn't stop staring, my brain short-circuiting, trying to reconcile this elementary school teacher in a cardigan with the wife who destroyed our marriage. Claire leaned over. "You okay? You look pale." "Just warm," I managed. Vanessa continued. Reading levels, math goals, science fair, animated, clearly passionate. This wasn't an act. This was someone who loved teaching. Then Dylan raised his hand. "Miss Mitchell, can my dad help with the science fair?" Vanessa smiled toward us. "Of course, we love parent volunteers." Her eyes found mine. The smile froze. Color drained from her face. 3 seconds. We just stared at each other across 15 years. She recovered faster than I did. "That would be wonderful," she said, voice strained. "I'll send home volunteer forms." She quickly looked away, continuing her presentation, but I saw her hands trembling. The rest was a blur. I retained nothing, just sat there while past and present collided. When it ended, parents mingled. Claire looked at the displays, Dylan ran to show his friends his desk. I considered bolting. "Nathan." I turned. Vanessa stood 3 feet away, expression unreadable. Shock, fear, regret. "Vanessa." "I didn't know. Dylan Rivers. I didn't make the connection." She glanced at Dylan. "He's yours?" "Yes." Awkward silence. Parents around us oblivious. "Could we talk? Just a minute? Outside?" Every instinct screamed no, but some part of me needed to hear what she could say. Briefly. We walked to the hallway. She leaned against the wall, arms crossed defensively. Up close, I saw the years, lines around her eyes, but also something softer, more genuine. "I'm sorry," she said immediately. "For this, for being Dylan's teacher, but also for everything. For what I did to you. I know it's 15 years late, but I need you to know. I'm profoundly, completely sorry. What I did was unforgivable. I destroyed the best thing in my life because I was selfish, and I've regretted it every day since." Her voice, raw, genuine, caught me off guard. This wasn't the woman I'd left. "Why teaching?" "After you left, everything fell apart. Lost my job, lost Derek, lost myself. 2 years of therapy trying to understand why I'd sabotaged my life. Eventually I went back to school, got my teaching credential. A second chance, a way to do something meaningful." I nodded slowly. "Dylan can't know about us." "Of course. I'll be completely professional. If you want a different teacher..." "No. He likes you. I won't disrupt that." Relief flooded her face. "Thank you." Claire appeared with Dylan. "Ready?" "Yeah." I looked at Vanessa one last time. "See you at conferences." "Of course. Good evening, Mr. Rivers." As we walked away, I realized something. I wasn't angry anymore, just surprised. And maybe that was the strangest feeling of all. That night, after Dylan slept, I told Claire everything on our back patio under October stars. The receipt, the investigation, the silent departure, the impossible coincidence. She listened, holding my hand. "Are you okay?" Honestly, I don't know yet, but she seemed genuinely different. People can change in 15 years. You did. She was right. I wasn't the same man who'd driven away from Awatuki. Over the next few weeks, Dylan came home with stories about Miss Mitchell. How kind she was, how she made learning fun, how she'd stayed late to help him with reading. I'd tense up, but Claire would squeeze my shoulder, reminding me it was okay. 6 weeks later, parent-teacher conferences arrived. Claire offered to go alone. I declined. I need to do this for closure. We sat across from Vanessa at her desk, Dylan's work between us. She was purely professional, reviewing his progress, his science strings, his spelling challenges. If Claire hadn't known our history, she'd never have guessed. At the end, as Claire stepped out to let Dylan pick a book, Vanessa looked at me. "Can I say something off the record?" I nodded warily. "Seeing you with your family, the life you've built, it's exactly what you deserved, what I couldn't give you." Her voice was steady but emotional. I wasted years hating myself, but watching Dylan, hearing him talk about his dad, I'm genuinely glad you found happiness. Something loosened in my chest. "Did you find happiness?" She smiled sadly. "I found peace, which is close. I love teaching. I have good friends, a small apartment, a quiet life that's mine. I'm not the person you married. She doesn't exist anymore. Neither does the person you are married to. Good. He deserved better." I took a breath. I won't say I forgive you because I don't know if that's even mine to give anymore. What happened is ancient history, but I don't carry anger. I haven't for years. And seeing you now, knowing you've built something real, that's enough. Tears shimmered in her eyes. That's more grace than I deserve. Maybe, but holding grudges takes energy I'd rather spend on my son. Claire and Dylan returned. We said polite goodbyes. Walking to the parking lot, Dylan chattered about his book. Claire took my hand. "You did well." "Yeah, I think I did." That night in bed, I thought about life's circular paths. 15 years ago, I'd driven away convinced I'd never trust again. Here I was, whole, trusted, trusting, with a family filling every space I thought was permanent. Vanessa's betrayal destroyed one version of my life, but forced me to build a better one. If she hadn't had that affair, I might have stayed in a mediocre marriage, never knowing a real partnership. Never had Dylan, the best part of my existence. I didn't thank her. That would be absurd. But I could acknowledge that the worst thing that happened to me had somehow led to the best. The school year continued. Dylan thrived. I'd see Vanessa occasionally at events, polite nods, nothing more. The path stayed where it belonged. And me? I went home daily to noise and love and chaos and second chances. I'd been shattered once, but I'd healed stronger, smarter, and more grateful. That's what 15 years of silence gave me. Not revenge, but perspective. The knowledge that endings, even devastating ones, can be beginnings if you're brave enough to start over. I was brave enough, and I'd started over beautifully. If you've ever had to rebuild your life from scratch, drop a comment below. Sometimes the hardest chapters lead to the best endings. And if this story moved you, subscribe. We share real stories about life's toughest moments every week.